Hello everybody, Jessica here and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm so happy to have you join me today for this video. It is the update video for my Pan That palette for the month of March, and this year I am panning my Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and this palette is so much fun. I'm absolutely loving panning it, even though it's a little bit of a challenge. But if you are just finding me, please consider subscribing to my channel if you like panning content or you like me, and go ahead and give this video a quick thumbs up right here at the beginning before you forget. I really would help me out a lot. And go ahead and leave a comment at any point. I do love hearing from you. Let's jump right on in and show you my updates for this palette. Here's what this palette was looking like when I first brought it into the project in January. I only had one pan on it at that time, and that was in the shade Peaches and Cream. Here's what the palette was looking like last month. As of last month, I had hit pan in Caramelized, that brown shimmer shade in the bottom row. And this past month has been a really good month. Here's what the palette is looking like today. And I hope you immediately see that I do have one new pan in this palette, and that is in this second shade in the top called Luscious. And I thought that that might be the shade that I hit pan on this month, as I was very close. It had a nice dip in it as of last month, and I was able to get to that pan, which feels excellent. And now I have 3 pans in this 18 pan palette. My goal for this palette this year is just to hit pan on every single one of these shades. I'm not trying to use up this palette entirely, but it would be kind of nice if I do empty 1 or 2 of these shades. That would be great, but it's not my ultimate goal for this palette. So I'm gonna go through each of these shades one at a time and compare with you what they look like last month to this month. And then at the end, I'll let you know the amount of product I was able to use up as far as weight goes, and let you know the goals that I'm gonna set for my next month. But as far as February goes, I had some pretty hearty goals, and I'm happy to say now that I did hit every single one of those goals. I had a goal of using every single shade at least 3 times. I wanted to use Candied Peach at least 10 times, and I wanted to hit at least 1 pan, which we know I hit pan in Luscious. So let's go through each of those shades, and you can see how these dips are looking from last month to this month. Starting off with that first shade here, this is White Peach, and here's what White Peach was looking like last month. This was after 21 uses in the project. I reached for it 20 additional times this month, making for 41 uses total, and here's White Peach today. And you can see that that dip is getting to be quite large, and I'm really hopeful that we're getting close to pan on this shade, but it still has a ways to go. I use this shade almost every single day as my inner corner highlight. I like to use it by itself, but I also mix it in with nectar a lot of times, and that's how I've been able to get the dip that you see in White Peach today. Sometimes I use it on my brow bone, but rarely. I don't love that look so much these days, but it is looking really good, and I'm hopeful to have a pan on that one by next month. The next shade is Luscious, our pan for the month. Here's what Luscious was looking like last month. This was after 8 uses in the project. I reached for it 17 times this month, making for 25 uses total, and here is Luscious today. And I was actually able to hit pan on Luscious on the 11th use this month, so the 19th use total, but I have been reaching for it naturally just after hitting pan, just to get a nice big pan for all of you. I'm going to continue to reach for these shades and expand these shades throughout the year and just see how large I can get them. Of course, that is how a Pan That palette typically works. Next shade is Just Peachy. So here's what Just Peachy was looking like last month. This was after 3 uses in the project. I reached for it 4 times this month, so 1 use over my 3 use goal. And here's what it's looking like today after 7 uses. And there is a slight little disturbance in the surface of that eyeshadow, but not much of a dip yet. But that is one I'm hoping to have a dip on very soon. Just going to continue reaching for it, hopefully more and more each month, so that we do eventually hit that pan. Which brings us to the 4th shade, Bless Her Heart. Here's what Bless Her Heart was looking like as of last month. This was after 3 uses in the project. I reached for this shade 4 times as well, making for 7 uses total, and here's Bless Her Heart today. And this one has a little bit more of a dip than Just Peachy. I've been using this as a liner topper, and it looks really beautiful like that. I also love it in the lower lash line as well as just on the lid, and that is one that I plan to focus on in the month of March because it is the only green in this palette. Why not give it some attention during the month of March? And hopefully we will have a bigger dip to share with you on that one in the next update. The next shade in this row is Tempting. Here's what Tempting was looking like last month. This was after 7 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times this month, making for 13 uses total, and here is Tempting today. And this one too has a slight little dip starting to form. I also use this shade as a liner topper, and it works really well for that. But I would like to experiment with it more, using it in some smoky eye looks, so hopefully I can prioritize that one and get some more progress on it in the coming months. And the last shade in this top row is Charmed, I'm Sure. Here's what Charmed, I'm Sure was looking like as of last month. This was after 17 uses in the project. I reached for it 21 times this month, making for 38 uses total. And here's what the shade is looking like today. And I'm hoping that you'll see that that dip is a little bit bigger today. I use this shade every single day as my eyebrow powder, so it's getting a lot of use, but I'm not using a ton of product when I reach for it. But I am confident that I will hit pan on it just by using it as a brow powder. But it would be nice to work it into other looks as well. So that might be a goal for mine coming up. So I'm gonna try and get a little bit closer for you, and let's move on to that second row and talk about Nectar. Here's what Nectar was looking like last month. This was after 19 uses in the project. I reached for it 15 times this month, making for 34 uses total, and here is Nectar today. And as you can see, this one also has a very nice size dip in it, and another one that I think I'm very close to hitting pan on. Again, this is the shade that I mix in with White Peach as an inner corner highlight almost every single day, so it's getting a lot of use. I do reach for it on the lid here and there, but not very often. But I think that's one that I should have a pan on hopefully by the next update. That's gonna be my goal. And the next shade in this row is Cobbler, probably one of my least used shades in this palette so far. Here's what Cobbler was looking like last month. This was after 2 uses in the project. I reached for it 3 additional times, making for 5 uses total, and here's Cobbler today. And as you can see, the lack of use is definitely reflected in what you see in the pan here. There's a slight disturbance in the surface of the eyeshadow, but not much of a dip formed yet. It's just kind of a blah, boring shade, but I'm gonna definitely have to focus in on it at some point if I wanna hit my goal of pan on it. The next shade in this row is Candied Peach, and I had a goal of reaching for this shade 10 times this month. Here is what it was looking like last month. This was after 4 uses in the project. I was able to reach for it 12 times this month, 2 uses over my goal, and here's what Candied Peach is looking like today. And you can see there is a little bit of a dip starting to form in there, hopefully a bigger dip than last month after those 12 uses. And these mattes are notoriously difficult to pan, but this is one of the more powdery matte formulas in this palette. So I'm more hopeful with this shade than I am some of the other mattes. So hoping that I will have a pan on that one, at least in the springtime, in the next couple months, but definitely not by next month. But we're gonna keep chipping away at it. The next shade in this row is Bellini. Here's what Bellini was looking like last month. This was after 2 uses in the project. I reached for it 5 times this month, making for 7 uses total. And here's Bellini today. And Bellini is starting to form a nice little dip. Nothing too major, but we are seeing a bigger dip than some of the other shimmer shades. I have Bellini on my look today. It's what is in the inner part of my lid. I also have Candied Peach in my crease. I have Just Peachy on the outer part of my lid, and then I have Nectar White Peach on the inner corner, and Luscious a little bit on the lower lash line. So this palette is definitely represented in my eye look today, and I thought that was appropriate for my update video, so you can kind of see how these shades look on the eye, perfect for this time of year, and I'm really excited to use it in this coming spring months. The next shade in this row is Peach Pit, which is a dark purple shimmer and probably one of my more challenging shades for this palette. So here's what Peach Pit was looking like last month. This was after 2 uses in the project. I reached for it 4 times this month, making for 6 uses total, and here's what Peach Pit is looking like today. And there is a slight little dip or disturbance starting to form in the surface of that eyeshadow. I've been using this as a liner topper as well as in my outer corner, and it's a really pretty purple, and I really do need to reach for it more, especially if I have any hope of hitting pan on it, because it's going to be a tricky one for me to do so. And that brings me to our last shade in this row, Delectable, the more matte colored purple in this palette. Here's what Delectable was looking like last month. This was after 5 uses in this project. My goal was to reach for it 3 times, and I did meet that 3 use goal, making for 8 uses total, and here's Delectable today. And this one barely has any disturbance on that surface of the pan. I reached for this one as a liner topper mostly. Haven't really put a lot of it on my crease or anything like that. So I have my work cut out for me on that shade. And that's just a reminder for me to focus in on it at some point and use it more often so I can have more progress, right? Okay, let's move on to that last row and talk about Peaches and Cream. So here's what Peaches and Cream was looking like last month. This had a nice size pan on it last month. This was after 19 uses in the project. I reached for it 22 times this month, making for 41 uses total, and here's Peaches and Cream today. And I'm hoping that you'll see that there is a big expansion in the size of that pan from last month to this month. And this is one one of the shades that I'm hopeful I should be able to use up during the course of this year. I use this shade every single day to set my eyelids before I go in with eyeshadow, and it's a really nice cream colored shade that works very well for my skin tone. Next shade is Georgia. This shade also I'm very close to hitting pan on, I do believe. I mix it in with peaches and cream almost every single day to set my lid, and then I also use it by itself as my first transition shade in a lot of my looks. So here's what Georgia was looking like last month. This was after 26 uses in the project. I reached for it 23 times this month, making for 49 uses total, and here's what Georgia is looking like today. And you can see it has a really nice size dip going in there, and I think that this one is close to having pan. There's probably still a ways to go, but I know I'm gonna hit that pan soon, maybe next month, maybe the month after that, but it's gonna happen without much effort. And because I use such a big fluffy brush in that shade, I'm wearing it away quite evenly through the pan. So once I hit pan, it's gonna be a large pan, but it might take me a while to get there. And with 49 uses, it is my most used shade so far in this project. Which brings me to my next shade in this row, Caramelized. Here's what Caramelized was looking like last month. I just recently hit pan on it. This was after 14 uses in the project. I reached for it exactly 3 times, making for 17 uses total, and here's what Caramelized is looking like today. And I'm hoping that the pan is ever so slightly bigger with those 3 uses, but since I've already hit my goal of hitting pan on it, it's definitely not my main focus, but we'll see how large we can get that pan throughout the remainder of the year. And our next shade here is Puree. Puree is a beautiful brown, but it is gonna be a stubborn shade. I just know it. Here's what Puree was looking like last month. This was after 11 uses in the project. I reached for it 10 times this month, making for 21 uses total, and here is Puree today. And I think you're finally gonna start to see a small dip starting to form in this shade. It is very minor, and this shade is going to be difficult for me to hit pan on, but it's a beautiful brown. I use it very often, and I'm hoping to get there eventually. I'm just gonna have to keep chipping away at it. I'm definitely using a big fluffy brush for this, so it's not seeing the progress that maybe I would see with a more detailed brush. So maybe I'll go in there with a more finer tip brush to do some more detailed work. Maybe that'll help, but for now, we have a ways to go on that one. Which brings me to the next shade, Summer Yum. Summer Yum is another similar story here. I had this shade in another project, I think it was Pan Those Eyeshadows a couple years ago, and I used it well over 30 times without hitting pan on it. So I have a head start on it, but it's still gonna take me quite some time to hit pan on this shade. So here's what Summer Yum was looking like last month. This was after 7 uses in the project. I reached for it 6 times this month, making for 13 uses total, and here's what Summer Yum is looking like today. And I don't think you're gonna see much of a difference between last month and this month. 6 uses is not that many uses for a stubborn matte like this, and I am definitely focusing more on Puree, just trying to get a bigger dip on it since Summer Yum already has that nice size dip on it. But once we hit the late spring, summer, fall months, I'm really gonna be going in on this warm brown matte. So it'll get a lot more attention then, but for now I'm just happy that it's getting some consistent use. Which brings us to our very last shade, and that is Talk Derby to Me. So here's what Talk Derby to Me was looking like as of last month. This was after 4 uses in the project. I reached for it exactly 3 times, making for 7 uses total, and here is Talk Derby today. And this one too, just like the shade above it, has barely a disturbance in the surface of that pan. We've got a ways to go on that one. Our work is definitely cut out for us. I've been using this as a liner topper, but I would love to incorporate this into some more smoky, purpley looks. I just need to challenge myself to create those looks more often if we're gonna see the progress that we hope to see on these shades. So those are all of the shades from this palette, and overall I'm really happy with the progress that I've been able to make this month, and I was able to meet every single one of those goals that I set for myself, so that is a big success. I've also been taking the weight on this palette. When I first brought this palette into the project in January, it was weighing 210.8 grams. Last month it was down to 210.29 grams, and today it is weighing 209.62 grams. So in the past month, I used 0.67 grams of product, which I think is amazing. And in total, throughout the project so far, I've used over a gram. I've used 1.18 grams of product. So I think I am doing very well for this project. I have 3 pans in here out of 18, and I'm ready to keep crushing some goals on this palette. So for next month, I have the goal of using each and every one of these shades at least 5 times. Last month was 3 times. I think this month I'm gonna amp it up to 5 times. I think I can do that if I really put the effort in. Of course, I'm gonna use a lot of these shades more than that, but I would like to use all of them at least that many times. Specifically, I wanna use Bless Her Heart at least 10 times. Again, we are in the month of March, the month of green. So let's go ahead and focus in on that green shade and see what we can do with her in this month of March. So that is my second goal. And my last goal is I wanna hit at least 2 pans in this next month. And I think I can do that. I'm planning those 2 pans to be White Peach and Nectar. Those are shades I reach for almost every single day, so if I'm gonna hit pan on any of them, it's gonna be those 2, especially with how deep the pans are in those shades now. But if I hit pan on Georgia, that would be amazing as well. That would be 3 pans in 1 month. I would be over the moon, but I'm also gonna be very happy with 2. So those are all of my goals for this next month of Pan That palette, and I'm just really excited to keep working on this palette. I think it's so beautiful. I just absolutely love it. I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves, because for so long, it's just been in my drawer collecting dust and not getting the love and attention that it deserves. So that's it for my Pan That palette update. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to let me know in some way by giving this video a thumbs up or leaving a comment down below. Any way you engage with this video helps me out so much. But I appreciate you all so much just for being here and watching this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your support means the world to me. And I want to say a little special shout out to all of you out there, because today I hit 6,000 subscribers here on YouTube, and I am just so thrilled and honored, and I just love being on this platform and making this content. So thank you to everybody who is subscribed and engages with my content every single time I post. It means the world to me, and I'm sending my love out to you wherever you are. I hope you're doing well, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video. But until then, please take care. Bye.